Welcome back to Elliot's Excel exercises. Today we'll be talking about the if-error formula. Hey guys, Elliot here. Just want to let you know down in the description I have a Dropbox link. You can head there and download each of the sheets I use for my videos. They come with a blank slate so you can practice the formulas as I'm teaching them alongside with the video. Hope you enjoy and thanks for watching. So this formula is almost exactly how it sounds, is if there is an error in the formula, what do you want it to yield instead? So last video we were talking about equals if. This is paid column is where that came in. What we did is if the balance was equal to 0, put a yes, and if it's not, put a no. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it now because that's very important for this next current video. So let's get started. Down here at the bottom, I have a little data set, kind of more like a ruling, and this is what we'll be working today. So before we get started, I want to show you that sometimes your formulas will come up with error codes. If you're using operators like this one, the G4 equals 0, or whatever is more than or less than, more often than not you're not going to get any error because Excel can make calculations with numbers and stuff like that. What you will get errors with is if you start calculating with words, right? You can't add two words together and get a completely new result. It doesn't make any sense. So that's where your errors would come in. So this right here is an error, and you can tell because it starts with the pound sign and then it has all caps value. So value is a common error code indicating that a formula is wrong or can't compute. So we can test that out down here at the bottom. Right here I have directions. Right here I have a formula that we're going to use. So this right here is add yes and no together using just a simple equals. So let's try that. So you can start off any formula by putting equals, but you don't have to use a keyword. You don't have to use sum, you don't have to use if, you don't have to use count. You can just start typing, kind of like a built-in calculator. So what we want to do is we want to equal yes plus no. So before I go any further, ask yourself, what do you think that's going to yield? Is that going to compute into anything? Probably not. Like, how do you add those together? Doesn't make any sense. So let's hit enter on that. There we have our value. So this right here, there's an error. If any other formula in the sheet referenced this cell, say like take the value of that, add it to this new one, this new third one, right? It won't work. If you have a string of formulas all throughout your sheet, all kind of going off of each other, and you have one guy in there that has an error, everything after that will also have an error. That's good to keep in mind to make sure if you have 2, 3, even 10 formulas all linking together, maybe through different sheets, through different tabs, make sure every formula is correct and doesn't have any sort of errors, or it'll create a snowball of just errors all the way down the line. So moving on, how do we fix this error right here? How do we say, but if yes plus no doesn't equal anything, then what do you want it to say, right? What do you want the cell to show? So that's where if error comes along. So in the second one, I'm going to do if error. And as you see here in the directions is add yes and no together using the formula. And this right here is the formula we'll be using. I'm keeping it up on screen just so you can follow along. So if error, Yes, we do the same thing as before. Yes plus no. Right here this is the value. This is essentially what you're trying to compute, right? But if there's an error, then there's a second half to the formula. So right here you'll put comma, and you'll see value if error. So what do you want to show in the cell if the first half couldn't compute? So right here in my notes, right next to the cell, I have a can't do that. Can't do that. And I'll put quotations. Remember, if you put quotations in the formula, it'll spit it out as a string of text. And I'm going to finish off that formula with the parentheses and hit enter. And here we have the can't do that, which is perfect because yes and no couldn't compute. And we know that our if error formula worked out perfectly by using the second half of it where it said value if false. Or, I'm sorry, value if error. So this can be handy in a lot of different ways. I'm going to show you in future videos, especially how important this could be. Another thing to note with this formula is if you're printing out, let's say, a PDF version of your Excel sheet, you don't want a bunch of value errors all over something you'll hand to, let's say, management, or maybe hand to your team. You don't want a bunch of errors like that, right? You want the people that are looking at it to see like, okay, there was an error here, but it spit it out like regular text, right? Maybe instead of putting can't do that, maybe I can put there was an error, or maybe I can put cannot compute, just to let the people know who are looking at your report, or for you to know to reference back later on that this cell was an error. So we need to fix something before that, right? And again, just like always, if I use this within a large data set, you can always just filter the headers, put a filter on the headers, and then filter by the value of what your if error said, right? The value if error. And in this case, it was the can't do that. So I can filter by all the can't do that's, right? And then see if I can fix anything beforehand. And maybe I'll get an actual value at that point. So adding yes and no is the easiest way to get a value error. There are other types of errors, and we'll go over them in other videos. But for now, this is the if error formula. I hope you learned a lot. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. See ya.